the election just happened. We're still obviously tallying results, though I think some pretty definitive results about the Senate just came through. We'll talk about all that with our guest Mushtaq Gunja. You've seen him on the EffinFunny streams before. He serves as executive director at the Carnegie Classifications and senior vice president at the American Council on Education. Prior to that, okay, he served as assistant dean in academic affairs and adjunct professor at Georgetown University Law Center, where he teaches classes on criminal law and evidence. He also served as deputy associate counsel at the White House under President Obama. Maybe you've heard of him. And as chief of staff of the U.S. Department of Education, or under the chief of staff of U.S. Department of Education. He graduated cum laude from Harvard Law School, some tiny little school that you may have heard of, and then magna cum laude with honors from Brown University with a BA in political science and diplomatic history. Mushtaq Gunja. Mushtaq, welcome to the show.
Oh.
Mush, can I just say, I like that we went to school together, or at least we were like around the same class, and I your resume sort of like I guess sort of ends on Brown University is kind of like, that was the sort of the beginning for you, whereas my resume is the opposite. It sort of culminates to going to undergraduate at Brown. I wasn't in a commercial with LeBron James. I wish. I was in the commercial with Milana, who is I'm 2 degrees of separations from LeBron James. Yeah. There you go. You're just watching LeBron James when a commercial came up, and he's like, "That's great. I love that." That's all I'm saying. Well, Mush, you're joining us from the East Coast, and I know it's late over there, so we're gonna jump right into this business. All right, so the way we do this, Mush, is we do like a chakra check-in. Okay, so we're going to go through each of the 7 chakras. Now, don't worry, we've taken the time to sort of force all the questions to still be about the election. So that makes sense. But we're going to have some fun with it. Hopefully it's like a cool way to access, this topic that's, at the top of mind for all of us. So we're going to start with the root chakra, which last week we did nickname as the taint chakra, but it's also the center for stability and security, right? And then when this is imbalanced, this is where anxiety and fear grows. So considering there was a lack of like a major red wave, how are you feeling right now? Do you have actually more optimism around the stability of our democracy? Like, let's just get a baseline check on how you're feeling about everything that's shaken out.
Yeah, I feel amazing. I mean, I feel great. This is like a 9 out of 10 result for Dems, maybe. I mean, this is really, really fantastic. Sandeep, we were together 3-4 weeks ago, I think. And as you know, I was very pessimistic a few weeks ago. Yeah. And I am very, very happy to be wrong about that. Dems did great. Dems did great. And frankly, democracy did great, because over and over in state after state, the worst of the election deniers lost. Mm-hmm. And, I think in state after state, sort of either good or great secretaries of state got reelected. In some cases, those are Republicans who sort of fought against the election deniers of 2020. In other cases, they're Democrats who I think will do the right thing when it comes to 2024. But I feel really good. It could have gone quite badly. There were a lot of crazy people on the ballot, and basically all the crazies, like the real crazies, not ones that we disagree with on policy, but those who fundamentally sort of don't understand democracy. Most of those people lost, and it's really good. So I feel great. It's really, we should all feel really good, I think.
Yeah, Omar, I'm gonna take you back to those 3 or 4 weeks. Like we were just like hanging out after Mush just happened to be in town, and then we were like, did like a poker game together. And he is like my go-to. Him and Dave Ziff, who's also been on. He's like my go-to for when I'm feeling anxious about things. And, just be like, hey, am I crazy about how I'm feeling about the world? And you're a smart guy. Like, tell me to feel better, or just validate that I should feel this way. And then you were so pessimistic. It was hard. I was like, oh God, I think I'm cheering him up. Hopefully it was, yeah, you were like, you did call some things though. You were like, oh, Abrams is going to get kind of trounced, and Beto is going to get trounced. So I guess that would have made the 10 out of 10 if we had like kind of taken those.
Yeah, there were a couple of things that would have been great. I mean, we lost the Wisconsin Senate race by a point. Mandela Barnes just barely lost, and that would have been great. Abrams would have been wonderful. Beto was even a little bit of a bigger reach than Abrams was. I mean, those would have been amazing. But as it went, and I think we can talk about this a little bit later. I think we're probably going to narrowly lose the House, probably.
Oh man.
It's close. There's a path, but it's pretty close. It's a pretty narrow. Well, look, if you'd asked basically anybody, not just 4 weeks ago, but even 6 days ago, I think very few would have given Democrats much of a chance of holding the House. So I mean, they're in a much better position than I think they really have any rights to be. So that would make it the 10 out of 10. But in general, things are pretty good. I will say part of the reason I was so pessimistic, Sandeep, I mean, a couple of things changed in the last few weeks. So, I've been telling friends that I've been subscribing to sort of a monostatic theory of elections, which is that they're all about gas prices. And 4 weeks ago, prices were again trending up, and in the last couple, they've come down again. They're down about a quarter, and stabilized a little bit too, and that's good. When we were talking, maybe it was just, frankly, Sandeep, it was like the shock of coming to California. I mean, in Maryland, gas prices have been like $3.75. Oh my freaking God, right? I mean, $5.75 when I got off in LAX, and those prices were going up. They stabilized a little bit. The stock market stabilized too in the previous in that last month, and bounced back a little bit, in the week sort of leading up. And I think those two things really, I think, helped. And then at the very, very end, it seemed like the polls were starting to catch a little bit of some stabilization of the numbers. They were worse, I think, 4 weeks ago than they were in really that last week. So
that's interesting.
There were some things that made me feel a little bit more optimistic. I was texting with some friends, and every day in the last week, I was giving like another reason to be optimistic about the Dems. Because there were a couple of things that, like, one of the things that I said the day before the election was, of the last, I guess this would be 10 midterms, this was the most confusing. I guess 5 midterms. This was the most confusing. Like 06 was predictable, 10 was predictable. 10 was predictable, except that the Republicans ran like a bunch of really bad Senate candidates, really crazy. But in the House, they I think they won 63 seats in the House in 10. In 14, it was really predictable. In 18, it was really predictable. But this one was going to be a little bit weird for a lot of reasons. But one of the reasons was, part of what you see in most midterms is the out party being very enthusiastic, and the party that's in power, their voters being a little bit less enthusiastic.
Right.
We just didn't see that this year. Enthusiasm to vote was very high on both sides, which was unusual. You don't normally see it. And so then what happens when you're in that position is that pollsters are now trying to model an election that they don't know how to model, because they're not used to seeing.
I feel like the polls, I just feel like pollsters didn't know how to capture Gen Z. Like, they just didn't know how to. I mean, we're going to kind of get into that in a minute, but I just feel like, I don't know, to me, everything that I was reading was like, we're going to get destroyed. And I feel like it just was not. And then I'm just thinking, like, there's no Gen Z person that answers their phone to like an unknown number. Like, that's not, like, I don't even do that. And I feel like no kid does that. So I'm like, how are they even like getting to those people to get their opinion,
Sure.
That's,
Can I just do
yeah.
one quick level set on sort of what part of the reason that I think so many people were so pessimistic, and I was too. So if you go back to 20, President Biden won the popular vote over President Trump by about 5 points.
Yeah.
There's this thing called the generic congressional ballot, right? This GCB is this thing that sort of asks voters, who would you prefer? Would you prefer to vote for the Democrat or the Republican in your district? And there was some disagreement about what that number was. I mean, there were a couple of pollsters that had it about even. There were some that had Republicans up 3 or 4 or 5 in that number. But regardless, right, there was going to be a shift from Biden plus 5 over, right? I mean, it was either going to be over 5 points or over 7 points or over 9 points, but it was going to be over. When you think about the election in those terms, right, where you've got sort of a baseline in 20, except we're going to shift it all 5 points to the right, that's a pretty significant move that's going to go over. And for a lot of, think of basically every race that was within 5 points in 20, that a Democrat won. Like if you have a regular shift over to the right, all of those Dems are going to lose. And that's sort of the baseline that you work with, right?
Yeah.
There's some things that happen that made that have much more variability, but I think that baseline is the reason that so many people were pessimistic.
Interesting.
Oma, where were you? Where were you on all this? Were you also down and surprised by this?
I hesitate to use the word surprise. I think where I was, because I don't do a whole lot of prediction stuff. I have a few, friends, and I know some folks who kind of treat it a little bit like sports. It's kind of like glory sports sometimes, where they're just like, oh yeah, and this, and I'm just like, hey, this affects real people. Like, let's get some information. Like, let's stay a little grounded in this. When we were talking last week, the big thing for me was the pessimism I was experiencing, and that was a thing that I was concerned about, because pessimism oftentimes leads to complacency, and it's just like, well, why fight if this is going? And which is interesting. It leads us a little bit to our next chakra in terms of like this sacral reaction to it. What emotionally was driving folks, because that anytime numbers start to look pretty bad, folks go, I want to accept this already. And instead we saw this very big movement and a lot of passion that I think wasn't maybe necessarily on display in the traditional places I've looked in the last couple elections. I usually can be like, oh, this is trending, that's going to happen. And instead, it was sort of this, like, for my experience, a surprise. So for you, what do you think was the emotional sort of a North Star that was leading people? Was it just the dislike of, the other candidate that drove people out, or was there sort of a bigger thing we can look at the map that's like, this was the beating heart of the election?
Omar, it's exactly the right question. I don't know. I think the answer is we don't know yet. I mean, partially because I think it'll take some time for us to get actual good exit poll data for us to know what's really happening. But here's my quick sense. My sense is that we are in an era of pretty significant negative campaigning, and that the thing that is driving people the most is the fear of the other, the fear of what the other people are going to do. And so, for the most part, nobody was really running on a positive, here are the 6 things that I am going to pass, that I'm hoping to do exactly. So, I mean, governor's races are slightly different in that regard. But even then, like, the Republicans were mostly running on I'm going to undo the things that are happening, or I'm going to stop Biden's agenda, like that sort of thing. The Democrats, on the other hand, I mean, they had a couple of big things to run on. Some student loan forgiveness. They did Build Back Better. I mean, they've had some judges.
I mean, body autonomy for women.
Yeah. Well, so that's really the thing, right? So, I mean, at the end of the day, I think the thing that there were 2 big issues that Democrats were running on sort of proactively. One was abortion. The other was just generally healthcare. That plays out a little bit differently in every state. Like, there wasn't one sort of coherent full healthcare message, nor need there be exactly, nor should there be really. Healthcare is different in Pennsylvania than it is in Wisconsin. You got to think about it.
When I was out canvassing, which I never fail to mention to people because I really just want to brag about doing that.
You did this, indeed. You're the one.
I basically did it. I mean, the guy that we canvassed for lost by like 8 points, but he would have lost by 9 or 10 if it wasn't for my canvassing. But it was funny because like healthcare was it was like on his list of like things to talk about, but it was so vague. It was just like, he stands for lower prices for healthcare.
Yeah.
like it was just this like really simple bullet point. I think just healthcare is so it's such a hard thing to like get into a real debate about. It's like there's so many kind of layers to that onion that you're like, if anyone just was like, oh, how, I would have been like, below this it says he likes education too, so does that help? Like it's hard to kind of, for me, grasp how, other than to say like, yeah, I guess we're for like single payer or something. It's like it's hard to get into that conversation on a face to face to the American voter.
Yeah.
Than it is to say like, hey, women's rights or or even protecting our democracy from voter suppression or something like that.
Yeah.
That's like a more easily consumable, understandable thing.
Yeah, healthcare is really hard to do, and I think it is a harder argument, I think, in a world in which Obamacare exists. And because I think the first layer of this argument back in 07, 08, when I was doing like a lot of field too, Sandeep, was like, we talked to people who were not insured, and getting them on insurance was really important, right?
Right. But now
he had a proactive thing, and the Republicans really didn't.
Right.
Now it's like a little bit more about like, your prescription drug prices are out of control. Here are the 4 things that we're going to go do to fix it. But you got to like take it down a level before you can take it up. And it's hard. I mean, and plus everybody's got a different experience with the healthcare system, right? I mean, and so yes, totally difficult. And I only say it because it's a winning issue for Democrats generally, because Republicans like have no plans. I mean, nothing. They have nothing to say about healthcare. I mean, they don't even have the one line that you have. Like they got nothing.
Right.
So,
yeah, their line is like, whatever the other guy's doing, we'll do the opposite.
Well,
like,
can you imagine President Trump trying to explain what his healthcare plan is or was? I mean,
anything you mean? Explain
nothing.
Anything? I can't imagine him explaining anything. But yes, I hear you.
Well, sadly, we might be.
Yeah,
we might be in for an ugly couple of years in this regard.
Yeah, and we're gonna get to that. But let's talk about real quick the one spot that we did actually flip to our side, which was like, I think, a big surprise to folks. Was taking down that slick TV personality, Mr. Dr. Mehmet Oz, and Fetterman, while recovering from a stroke, won. Can you just take us through like how that went down and like what we could learn from it? Like, was there a message there that resonated, that flipped people, and that's something we should be carrying forward?
It is. I wish I had a better answer for this. I have a few things I might say. One, look at the top of the ticket there. So Josh Shapiro is going to win that race. The governor, Democratic governor, or governor-elect, is going to win that race by 14 points. So, I mean, Fetterman's going to win, I think, by about 4, but in some ways, right, I think, Shapiro might have really helped. The top of the ticket can make a big difference, because otherwise you're going to rely on a lot of tickets. I think Oz was a uniquely bad candidate. Not from Pennsylvania, like not really the sort of person who's going to connect in the rurals, except not really the sort of person who's going to connect in the suburbs either. Exactly. Like he wasn't sure. It's not clear who his constituency was. Was not a good candidate. And Trump loves the celebrities. I'm not sure he would have won it without Trump's endorsement. Like, I think this was a big sort of mistake.
Right.
I gotta say, I mean, I don't know how you feel. I mean, Omar, maybe you've got a different view of this. Like, I mean, I'm not really super familiar with Fetterman's work as lieutenant governor. He's on message for the most part, but like, I don't know, he didn't seem to me to be the most inspiring candidate. Even put aside the stroke, like,
the only thing I really knew, I mean, when he came on the scene for me was like him like defending the election from being overturned, and I felt like he was like a strong voice in that. Like he like kind of went viral a couple times for being this like, this this like badass kind of key grip looking motherfucker. Which, by the way, I found out he was a key grip. Like someone told me that he's a key grip, and I'm like, of course he was. Look at this guy. He he looks like all the key grips I know. It's amazing. And so I feel like at least, I mean, and I'm not a Pennsylvania voter, but like that's how he's stuck in my head as someone who's like a little bit no nonsense kind of tough guy, but also like with a sweet heart and who wants to make sure that democracy does not get, rolled over by these fraudsters. I don't know. That was my take on him. I don't know how that carried into the actual race on the ground over there.
Can I go back just to something that you said 2 minutes ago about abortion, which we sort of like quickly skipped over, but like we can't spend enough time really talking about it. And
and the votes that affect anyone who can get pregnant, and which was a huge issue the entire election cycle. Yeah,
well, and it was you're absolutely right, Omar. And then it was even more so in states in which abortion was on the ballot in one way or another. And abortion was on the ballot in Pennsylvania, and incidentally was not on the ballot in New York. And if you think about like the difference between how well Democrats did in New York and how well they did in Pennsylvania.
That's interesting.
The existence of abortion on the ballot meant a lot. So in Michigan, and I can't remember exactly, there were so many referenda. There was a referendum on protecting abortion in Michigan. Gretchen Whitmer is going to win her governor's race by 13 or 14 points, sort of out of nowhere, really. I mean, she was, Michigan is a close state. I mean, I think that
destroyed it.
Yeah, I mean, Trump won Michigan in 16 by I think 0.7. Don't quote me. I think.
Wow. Okay.
Biden won it by 3, I think. And Gretchen Whitmer won her race by 11 points in an off year. Just to say, look, there's a really interesting lesson here. I don't know if you guys remember the 2004 presidential election very well, but one of the things that sticks out in my head was that was the election in which the Republicans put a whole bunch of protecting marriage, protecting marriage bills in various state houses. The theory is that those really drove Republican turnout a bunch. I would be really.
So the takeaway is like, try to get the hot button issue that's in your favor on the ballot, and or have someone at the top of the ticket that's popular running.
Yeah, right. I don't know that we're going to be able to do the latter, but at least on the former,
that's something you can actually do.
I would think, and so now it really helps that there are, in many of these states, we've got some abilities to put some of these things really on the ballot. And I think it will absolutely, I mean, there was one thing I was wrong about, it was underestimating how much abortion was going to drive people to the polls. Yeah. And part of the reason I think I was wrong about it was that, in all of the polls sort of leading up to the election, abortion wasn't showing up near the top of people's lists. But, it was there, and I guess we were just asking the question wrong, or something else was sort of happening. But, I mean, the evidence is pretty clear there. So I think if you're asking me how did Fetterman do it while both having a stroke, and let's be honest, he didn't do a ton of campaigning. The debate was not good.
Not great, yeah.
How do you do anyway? And I think Oz was terrible. I think abortion was on the ballot. And I think the governor up top ran a really clean, smart, fundamentally strong race. And he can get people out to the polls, right? I mean, there isn't going to be that much split ticket voting. So all those things, I think.
That electoral ecosystem makes sense. When you lay it out that way, you're like, actually, that all those things working together makes a lot of sense in terms of creating a whole voter profile of someone who's like, the entire ballot is something that represents me, versus like one, and then I'll have to study like 20 other things to bubble in.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's like it's like being on the Golden State Warriors, like being a bench player. you're like, I think I'm going to win a championship. Yeah, sure you are, fifth guy on the bench. You were going to technically win one. I don't know if you were going to be the guy that wins it, but okay, that's fair. By the way, I totally skipped that was supposed to be our our next chakra question.
Oh no.
So look, this is the kinks of doing. That's our solar plexus chakra, the money pork, which represents our willpower and self-esteem. And so I felt like because of Fetterman's a key grip, so he's a strong guy. So he represents our upper abdomen chakra. Omar, you want to take the next one?
Yeah, if let's flip tonally a little bit in terms of all that sort of optimism and a lot of that drive. There's also another element to this, which is a complicated feeling, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, is there's now some talk about certain Republicans and folks on the right who are starting to reject the sort of like whatever pseudo Midas touch that Trump seemed to have. Like it was just like any candidate that was picked would have this, and that did not prove to be true in this election. And so they're turning their backs. Is that something if we're talking about the heart chakra, is that something you love right now that you're like, oh yeah, okay? Or is it something that's a little pained because it didn't take an insurrection, it didn't take documents found at Mar-a-Lago? It was specifically this election that, started to turn that trend a little bit. How do you feel about that? Yeah.
They don't like losing. They don't mind insurrections, but what they really don't like is losing midterms.
Isn't that something? Omar, look, I love anything that gets us off of the extreme craziness where we can get back to talking about policy, and we don't need to have our politics just, marred by just juvenile behavior. I think the better. Right. And, if it took this to make that happen, that would be good. And, along the way, if Trump and some of the Republicans that he picked are humiliated along the way and lose key seats, all the better. I guess I'm not quite sure, though. In fact, I'm sure that I don't feel like he's off this is the end of Trump. Right. I was looking at the prediction markets right before we came on about who was most likely to be the next Republican nominee in 2024. And he and DeSantis are about even right now. They're
interesting.
Both like 135. Yeah, actually, and what's funny is that there really isn't a third person right. And so they're both plus 135, which is basically
Herschel Walker.
No, so 3 is Mike Pence, 4 is Nikki Haley, 5 is Chris Christie. I think I saw. These are not people who are going to win the Republican nomination. So.
Right. But I do really want to see a Mike Pence. I really want to see Mike Pence and Donald Trump on the same debate stage.
Yeah.
Like that.
No,
I really want to see it, but it seems like it would be it's like being on Twitter right now. It's just like the train wreck you could not tune into.
Yeah. Yeah, it's it'll be interesting. Pence he has no constituency, he has no shot. He was a very smart pick for Trump in 2016. But I almost wonder
him asking the question. Sorry, just him asking the question, be like, "Remember that time you told people to hang me?"
Yes, I do. I'm like, oh, that debate was over quick.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah.
Interrupting you for my joke, my dumb joke.
No, it's So anyway, I think that they're even odds, which makes me think that it's going to be. He's going to be there for a bit, I think. And if he ends up announcing, the word on the street is that he's going to announce that he's running for president on Tuesday. Trump is. This would be a really bad time for him to do it. I see. I would not do that if I were him. If I were advising him, I would try to push this off as at least until after Georgia, because he can't win, right? If Walker loses after he announces, he's going to take even more blame.
Right.
If Walker wins, I don't know. Do people give Trump all the credit? Unless Trump is down there campaigning for Walker and then Walker wins. But I don't think Walker's going to want him. I don't think the Republicans down there are going to want him exactly. And remember that Brian Kemp, who stood up to Trump won that race and is outrunning Walker in that state by 9 points, is doing significantly better. So I don't know. This feels like a real disaster. But Trump has never been able to admit that he's ever lost anything, right? If he runs, this could be a total disaster for the Republican Party. I'm really interested.
So just jumping into chat real quick. We're talking about Trump's healthcare plan. The real Brendan Pace says Trump's healthcare plan would be so fantastic. It would be the best. He'd have his best guys on it. And then Anand Shah jumps in with, I thought Trump did explain his healthcare plan. It involved bleach. I think 2 strong comments down here. And just jumping off that, a question from the audience. Who had a worse week, Donald Trump or Sam Bankman-Fried?
Oh, my God. Well, one like fled to somewhere tropical, right? And the other one's at Mar-a-Lago. I think it's
toss-up. Real toss-up.
Toss-up.
Yeah.
Too close to call.
Could go either way. Stay tuned. We'll get the votes tabulated in 4 weeks.
We'll ask Ternaki.
All right. Jumping ahead to our throat chakra, the Vishuddha chakra. This is our communication center. And, we talked a bit about this already, but let's get into it. Gen Z, spoke loudly and clearly, coming out like in full force. They broke some information I'm reading here. They broke 63% to 35% to Dems, according to exit polls.
Yeah.
They supported Fetterman by a 46% margin. I mean, that's bananas.
Yeah.
So, when you were pessimistic earlier, is that a piece of what you were missing, you think? Or, were you shocked by their influence? Or you saw this coming? Or?
Well, so there's sort of 2 parts, right, of the Gen Z vote, or of any demographic vote. There's the margin, and then there's the amount of folks that turn out. I'm not shocked by those margins.
Yeah.
Like, the margins seem right. It's that we didn't know if they were going to make up 5% of the electorate or 9% of the electorate, or 10% of the electorate, that sort of thing. And they came out in numbers that were higher than I thought. So I think I totally missed that. I missed it partially, and I think a lot of people did, because the early vote in a lot of these states did not seem to indicate that young people were turning out yet. So there was a lot of either same-day registration or just voting in person that I think we all sort of didn't quite see coming. At least I didn't see coming. Because, we've got all this voter registration stuff, by demographics, both by party and by age. We also have a whole set of, in some states, we have some indications of who the types of people are that are voting. We just didn't see it happen until the end. But, I saw some stats about same-day registration in Michigan, and the sort of number of folks that voted on, the University of Michigan campus was sort of insane, and I think we saw some of that all the way through. Look, I think there are a couple of things that are playing here, right? Certainly abortion, I think, is an important topic for people for whom abortion is a possibility, right? It may well be that folks that are 45 to 54 and 65 plus don't care as much about abortion as, folks that are directly impacted by it. That would make sense. Look, I think at some point, the Republicans' total inability to sort of grapple with climate change is going to come back and haunt them. And we may really be seeing this now. And then third, right, the demographics of this country are that, more and more people are going to college, and Republicans are losing that college-educated vote in ways that are really, I think, a significant problem for them. I don't think that's the demographic that you just are happy to lose, especially when the percent of folks that have college educations grow by 1% or so every year. It's a really poor mix of things. And I'll just say, Republicans have been. I sometimes will turn on Fox News and they'll say something like, "Oh, but young people, they're so stupid. They always vote Democrat. They've always voted Democrat. You'll be a Democrat when you're young. You'll be a Republican when you're older."
I hate that. I hate that adage.
I would say they're wrong on 2 sort of levels. So if you go back to the 88 election, so this is
Dukakis, 88?
Yeah, George H.W. Bush and Dukakis in 88. I think that the young vote, 18 to 29, split basically evenly there.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, and then in 2004, the Bush-Kerry election, I think Kerry won young people 50-44, 52-44, something like that. It wasn't an enormous gap. What we've seen over time, actually, started with Obama in 08 and going sort of forward, is that, they're losing that young vote, and the Republicans are losing it pretty significantly. Now, the reason this matters is that one of the best predictor for how you're going to vote is how you voted last time. And the political science sort of data on this is actually pretty strong, that like once you start voting a certain way, it's actually really difficult to change. If you're a Republican, you do not want to be losing this demographic, because it may well be that you're going to have lost, these 18 to 29-year-olds for decades sort of going forward.
Wow, okay.
So then do you think, I mean, like how big of a part did the whole what do you call the forgiveness of the student loans, like that, like do you think that had an actual big impact on getting the Gen Z vote? Be like, not only is he not telling us we're immature and stupid for voting against Democrats, but he's also like giving us 10 grand.
Yeah.
I'll vote for them. I mean,
I don't know.
Did that have an impact? I guess we'll wait and see. Kind of thing.
You might yes. I mean, look, I don't know the answer. Feels like it wouldn't be a crazy theory to think that might have helped some folks.
I just wonder how the messaging is there, right? Where he's like, look, they're cutting taxes for the rich, and we're trying to put the money back in the hands of the working class. And that's you guys, sometimes I feel like it's said so much that it's like that just kind of is like running water in the background. But I wonder if it actually had real, like if people were like, yeah, he is, and I do have money. I'm gonna go vote, or I'm gonna mobilize. I'll say this, that when I was canvassing, like at Jay Chen's office, it was a lot of young people, volunteers in there. I mean, it was a majority, I'd say, young folk in there that were pushing it out in Buena Park, California. So,
when you were out canvassing,
what's that?
When you were out canvassing,
yeah. Back when I was, thank you for reminding everybody that. Yeah, when I was canvassing, yeah, totally. But it did feel, at least in that moment when I was out canvassing, it felt like that the youth movement was showing up. Not just to voting, but to like actually organize and help.
Yeah.
So and I'll say that I tweeted about same-day registration, and it sounds like that, really had a big impact. And so, it's not a competition.
They're like, do you follow at Omar Najam? Because I read this tweet. That's what they were saying at the campaign headquarters that I was canvassing for.
Incredible.
They were talking about your tweet. Yeah.
It's truly an honor to be with you two. I mean, you single-handedly sort of saved democracy. Amazing.
We did it. The two of us.
Well, at least you guys did something as opposed to me just predicting doom and gloom. So, I mean, this is the key.
The stability you provide to us by telling us, two scared men, what's going on in the world around us is such a treat.
I can put no price on.
As we're moving up the chain of chakras, let's focus on third eye for a hot second. What does this mean for the future? Looking ahead, what does this mean in terms of the Senate? We're talking the House. 2024. Is this a momentum that will kind of be here for a month or two, and then we'll have to reassess? Or do you think that this is sort of a movement that's going to carry us into the big general, on the horizon?
Yeah. Hard to know for sure. I'll weasel my way out. So remember 2010, Republicans gave President Obama shellacking, right? Won 63 seats, and then proceeded to lose the election in 2012.
Right.
It goes the other way sometimes too, right? In 2014, the Republicans had a very nice midterm and then won the White House in 2016.
Real quick, just have to pause you just to shout out that bronze girl for rating in. That's Jasmine Buller. She rated 194 people into this conversation. You guys are jumping right in the middle of our live stream / podcast ABCD, where we interview other fellow ABCDs, American-born Chatty Desis, about stuff and things. And right now, the stuff and things that we're excited about talking about are the elections. So that's what we're jumping into with our buddy Mushtaq Gunja, who among many, many things, awesome things, is a professor at Georgetown, and also, worked at the Obama administration, just helping us sort of understand what the fuck is going on and why we're so happy. Here to explain to us why we're so happy, Mushtaq Gunja. So sorry, you were in the middle of your thing, but thanks, Bronzy, for sending your peeps over.
Yeah. I don't remember where we were. Oh, I'm sorry. We were talking about the Senate, the House, and what this might mean for 2024.
Yes.
Let's do a little level set about like sort of where we are. So as things stand right now, the Dems over the last 36 hours have had both Arizona. Mark Kelly has been declared the projected winner of the Senate race in Arizona. Catherine Cortez Masto has been is a projected winner of the Senate seat in Nevada. That gives Democrats 50 seats.
Right.
And with Kamala Harris being sort of the deciding vote, breaking vote in a 50-50 tie, it means that they now have control of the Senate. So,
which means the Warnock race is like would be gravy, basically. It would just make Manchin more not someone we care about.
Yeah, cinema. One of them, right? Like it's not.
You
It's
gotta win
not.
one of them, not both of them. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's good. That's an incredibly important thing because both, Tester, Manchin, Sinema are all up for re-election in 24. So this is a big, big deal. Like, you want to be able to give your senators like the ability to vote against the party. Like, it's a really important thing.
I didn't even think about that. So now, like, we have so much more leverage for them to like toe the party line a bit more. Maybe.
Or to buck the party line, which you want them to do a little bit while still getting your legislation passed. Like you want Sinema to be able to say, "Oh, I'm an independent person. I sometimes vote against Biden, sometimes I vote with Biden." Like it's good in a swing state. It's gonna be really important for Tester and Manchin.
That's so like games mini.
Yeah,
I know what you're saying. Yeah, okay. It's like so like basically they can whisper in the hallway and be like, "It's totally Sinema. You can totally like vote against this. That's totally fine because like Manchin's on board."
Interesting.
Gross. I hate
That's why the Capitol Hill has these like cloak rooms where like you hang up your cloaks, but like really the senators just go back there and they cut deals. It's like sort of crazy.
Right.
I don't even
Cell
have a
phones,
cloak.
like, not work in those rooms.
Let's not think about the other things that may or may not have.
Oh my gosh.
So look, the race in Georgia is going to be really interesting. I mean, the stakes are lower for sure in a lot of ways, but we'll sort of see. I mean, you got to think Warnock's favored there. I mean, I would think that he's 60-40, 65-35 favorite there. I mean, he should be. He was up. He is up right now in that race. 49.5, 49.6% of the vote. And he's about a point ahead of Walker. I mean, this will all zero out and we'll start over. But I mean, he's an incumbent. He's a better candidate. He's smarter than Herschel Walker. And there's a whole set of folks I think that voted for Walker because Senate control might have been at stake, and now Senate control is not at stake. And you just wonder.
That's what I wonder. I guess that's what I wonder. I'm like, so who does it benefit? Like, I want to believe that it benefits Warnock more, right? That Senate control is not at stake because it would keep the Republicans who just were like, I only voted for this clearly overconcussed man for for just that reason, and now I'm not going to bother.
Right. I mean, do you feel really good?
I just hope it doesn't blow back the other way. I guess where people are kind of like, whatever. I don't have to show up for Warnock because it's not really important either.
Yeah.
It's going to be a hard race to model for that reason. I think it's really difficult to know which way that blowback is going to go. But I mean, enthusiasm is going to be lower. I mean, you would think turnout's going to be lower, and it's just hard to know what's going to happen in a low turnout election.
Usually that favors the Republicans, right? Like in general.
Well, Steve, it's such an interesting question. It's part of it's the last reason I was starting to get like a little bit optimistic, in the final days, because, as the coalitions shift a little bit, and as Democrats become increasingly the party of the more college educated, which was not the case when we were growing up, those are the folks that turn out and vote in sort of midterm elections, in sort of low turnout elections, right? So it's another reason why Republicans really don't want to be losing that vote if they can help it. So I don't know. All things being equal, in a low turnout election right now, I think in a generic Democrat versus Republican, I think I'd rather be the Democrat if turnout's relatively low. But we'll see.
Got it. All right. I like that.
Interesting.
Can we talk House for a second?
Yes, so let's talk House. Oh, first, before we talk House, I'm gonna give you a quiz, Mush, real fast. Ready? How many South Asians do you think were voted into the House this election? I have the number here.
Five?
Is that your final answer?
Yeah, how many are there?
Let that be your final answer because it's 5.
Yeah,
It's 5.
that's exactly correct.
Damn. Did you?
Mostly a guess.
That's a pretty damn good guess. Yeah, we got 5 of them in there. Rokana. Let's see. Where's this number? Well, that's the one. That's the only one that I knew.
And the other 4.
And the other 4, mostly because I have a friend named Rohini Khanna, Ro Khanna, so it's an easy name for me to remember. Yeah. And they're in California.
It must be easy for them to book a table.
Yes. Shri Thanedar.
Yeah.
You heard of this person? That's a congressional seat from Michigan. 67-year-old dude. Raja Krishnamurthy, 49-year-old, re-election in Illinois.
Yeah,
Rokana,
he's really good and quite smart.
You like him?
Yeah.
Excellent. Love it.
Yeah, it's
sorry, I just want to shout these people out.
Please do.
People. Pramila Jayapal. I know that person. Great. I've at least heard of that person. And Ami Bera.
Right.
Oh, the Congress's longest serving Indian American? This is terrible. I'm a terrible brown person. Yeah. So that's she's in California, 7th congressional district in California. So
the more details you share, the more humiliating this is to admit. I mean, it's going to be like, my next door neighbor. I'm so sorry, I did not realize.
Wait, my caca is. Wait, what's going on? So, I thought he was just asking for money because he was hurting for a job. Well, this is just. I mean, this is part of why I'm doing this show, right? Is to like get more in touch with my roots and kind of get to know these names a little bit better, just in general all around. So, but yeah, I guess let's then pull out and look at the house at large here.
Yeah. So you need 218 for a majority, right? The 435 congressional seats. I think.
Where were we at before? I can't remember. Like, what was the number?
Yeah, the Democrats had Democrats had about 220 seats. The reason I say about is because on any given day, we don't actually have 435 Congress people because somebody will die. I mean, there are a lot of them and they skew older. So this 218 number is important, but it's also like a little bit of a strange number in some ways because we may have 435 congressional seats like for like exactly 4 days, or something in the next Congress. So
does this technically make it
comes by and suddenly we have like 5 less is what you're saying basically?
Makes it technically one of the most lethal jobs in the United States of America.
Oh man.
So I think as it stands right now, it feels to me like Republicans are in pretty good shape to win 217 of those of the seats that are out there. And Democrats, they're going to need to win. There are 4 seats in particular that I think I'm spending some time looking at, and I think. The Democrats are probably going to need to win all 4 of them to be able to.
What are the 4 seats?
California 22. It's sort of northeast. It's north and east of Fresno. This is it's like over to like the. It's a little bit of Fresno. It's like got Clovis, some of like 3 Rivers, like that area.
Got it.
Omar, should we road trip?
I wouldn't mind going up to Clovis.
I don't know if we could help, but
yeah. Well, there's one that's closer. Congressman Valadeo is. Leading Salas, I think 52-47. About 53% of the vote is in. These are all the votes are in, so you can't go help actually.
Yeah,
but,
I know.
Theoretically next time.
We can help count.
California 4 is it's closer to you. It's east of the 15. So if you take the 60 like straight out,
cool.
And
are you gonna do the thing that my dad does, which is like give directions even though Google Maps exists?
Yes, just indeed. Just get just 134 down to 57 over to the 60. Just take it past where. Anyways, it's Riverside. It's like
Got it.
East Riverside County, and there's a close race there. Arizona 1, Arizona 6. Like, those are the 4 races I would think about. And I think the Democrats have to win actually all 4 for them
And
to
are
be
we
able to get
behind
the
in all of
218. I would say we're definitely behind in AZ1, AZ6. I would say we're 25% to win those.
Okay.
Yeah.
And California 4, California 22, it's harder to know, actually, because less of the vote is in. I think 53% of the vote is in 22, 67% in California 4. So, like, harder to know. I would, but, you add up, just do the quick math on it, probably adds up to, like, I don't know, like a 10% chance with, like, some correlated polling stuff happening.
But the
Maybe
whiteboard lady still, I think we got her, right? Katie Porter?
Katie Porter, I think we're going to win that seat. Yep. I think it's hard to know.
Nice.
Because in California, I mean, just it takes you guys a long, long time to count votes.
And Arizona, right? We're just like both of us. Slow.
Well, you
AF.
guys are going to be another couple of weeks, probably. I mean, Arizona's basically done. They'll be
is it?
done.
Oh, okay.
They'll be done
he's so much
tomorrow.
longer just because we're big, or what?
Have you ever done anything in California? We take so
Yeah, that's
long.
true.
Exiting
Oh,
a
yeah.
Trader Joe's takes 57 minutes.
The produce is good.
Yeah, it's worth it. It's worth it, man. I need my whatever those chocolate covered jelly things that I would get on.
With that said, look, the Dems probably aren't going to win the House. The Republicans are probably going to win 220 seats, if I had to
Does
guess.
it matter that what they win by is so slim because of what you talked about, the fatality rate?
It sure is. Yeah, the fatality rate matters. I mean, look, Kevin McCarthy, who's likely to be the Speaker of the House, is no Nancy Pelosi. I mean, he has no control over his caucus. To be fair, his caucus is insane. He's got, I mean, the Freedom Caucus, the people on the right, the far, I don't even know if it's the right, the people that are crazy, and there are like 25 of them, don't want the system to work. They don't want to govern. So, to get those people in line, it's going to be really hard to get everybody in the Republican Congress to vote for anything. Luckily, they don't really need to. I mean, in some ways, because if the Republicans control the House, it means no major legislation can get through, because they just won't sponsor the legislation in the first place.
Right. So it's like and does it also mean that, like, because my big thing was like, now we're gonna have all these indictments and be dealing with like Hunter Biden's laptop crap. Like, is that a go for them even at a slim margin? It is.
It sure is. I think so. It's a little bit difficult to know for sure because, I mean,
like, are there some sensible people that are like going to be like, we can't be spending our time doing this?
For sure. Right. But the thing is that there are very few things that are going to, like, those sorts of investigations, Sandeep, are not done at the full House level. You don't need to take a vote of 435. Instead, it's done at the committee level.
Right.
That has 11 people in the Judiciary Committee. I mean, the Judiciary Committee is going to be run by Jim Jordan, who
we love this guy.
But here's the silver lining. I mean, I think if these elections this week taught us anything, I don't think the lesson is that the country wants Republicans to be focusing on like these petty, small sort of investigations.
Fake investigations,
But that's exactly what they're going to do, because I think they can't help themselves. I was listening again to Fox News yesterday, and this is exactly where they were focused on Hunter Biden, on investigating Dr. Fauci, like, these sorts of origin of COVID things. Like, that's where they're going to be.
Got it.
And I don't know, like Hunter Biden, I was looking at the list of like priorities of the American people when they're voting, inflation and crime and abortion. And like, I don't know, Hunter Biden wasn't on that list. And, it's just a big mistake, I think, for them to, divert their attention this way. But I don't think they can help themselves. I think this is what they'll end up doing.
And just to quickly jump to looking ahead to so okay, we probably lose control of the House. We retain the Senate, which is important because that means judges can actually pass, and like, right, there's a lot that can still, I mean, yes, not legislatively that can be done, but if there was a Supreme Court opening, we could actually do it.
And not only that, I mean, there will be like a mess load of people. I mean, because there always are federal judges who retire that aren't Supreme Court justices, and all of those people can now get confirmed. It's really, really big. It's very important.
Is that what are the other things we can do now?
Yeah, I mean, so all things cabinet also. So here's the thing, right?
So appointments in general, or
all appointments, yeah, in general.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's a set of stuff around foreign policy that I think the Senate matters like a whole heck of a lot more than the House.
Got it.
So the Senate, this is good. I mean, but it's mostly about appointments and the fact that, you know, if the House changes back, or if a couple of people flip, which is not impossible, you know, you know, that we, you know, we will have the votes in the Senate probably to do the things, small things. I mean, not things that are going to get mentioned in cinema, but like small things we're going to be able to do if the House flips back. So this is
stopping the filibuster kind of thing. With this
no.
margin.
Got it.
No, this isn't the margin to sort of get rid of the filibuster. I don't think that's likely.
And even if like we could, then you know stuff like, but if we lost the House, we couldn't like codify Roe without the House, right? We need the House to pass.
That's right.
Okay, all right,
Got it.
Okay, that makes sense.
No, it's good. It's all good.
Hey, yeah, it's way better than the alternative. All right, we're moving to our final question before we drop off with you, but Omar and I stay on after that for
completely unrelated unrelated news stories to talk about.
Yeah, maybe that's just what we should call that segment. Completely unrelated to what we were talking about before. Weird news, and then we're gonna play a little game at the end, which should be fun.
Love it.
But we're moving up to our crown chakra. Okay, this is the Sahasrara. I think I'm pronouncing that wrong. Sahasrara. I'm gonna have to ask my dad. He's in town. We'll talk to him about it. All right. It's at the top of the head. It represents the higher consciousness, our divine connection. So, what does this mean for sort of the soul and spirit of our nation? I think we've all felt. At least I've felt. I'm sure you guys have felt this, like, just this like base note of feeling unnerved by what's been going on since 2016.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a path towards less divisiveness and healing with this move, or is, like, you know, we talked a little bit about it, but like Donald Trump is still very much the biggest threat here to our soul and spirit? Is it, or is it Ron DeSantis now? Like, are we still like this? Yeah, are we?
And
healing?
even without the figureheads, there still seems to be a rhetoric and a presence of enforced otherizing for different minority groups.
Yeah. But should I start feeling like there's some solve here? You know, some.
Yeah, you know, in some ways, I mean, I'm definitely not. I'm not an expert on anything. I'm definitely not an expert on this, and I think you guys probably feel this just as much, or have as much insight into this question as I. I mean, I guess my sense is this is a step in the right direction. I think Trump and these election deniers and these sort of just. Frankly, both election deniers and crazy people didn't win very often. I mean, there's one big race left. Carrie Lake is still in the hunt to be the next governor of Arizona. I think I would much, much rather be her opponent right now. I mean, I would say Katie Hobbs is probably 80% to win. I mean, I haven't seen the numbers that came out. I think probably while we were on the feed, some numbers probably came out of Maricopa.
Right.
You know, because I think we were waiting for something like a 1030 drop or so. But I'd much rather be Hobbs, so that's good. She's the craziest one left. But a lot of crazy people didn't win. I mean, and it's also really helpful that at least a couple of them haven't indicated that they're likely to challenge. So Doug Mastriano, maybe the worst of these guys, you know, the guy who was going to be governor of Pennsylvania, who said that he would have certified the election for Trump, the Pennsylvania election for Trump in 20, which is crazy because Trump didn't win. He lost, and not only did he lose, but he sent out a tweet maybe 6 hours ago that said some version of, I accept that I lost. That's amazing news.
That's
I did not
insane.
think that we were going to see that.
Right,
you know?
right.
Wow.
It could be that we might be in a place where we're going to at least, accept the results of elections. Now, we got lots of other problems. I mean, Ron DeSantis is like a crazy person when it comes to this culture stuff, right? Like picking up immigrants in Texas and flying them to Martha's Vineyard, and like the critical race theory stuff in Florida is insane. You know, I don't think we're going to get like all the way there. Even if Trump were to come to an untimely demise tomorrow, you know, I don't think we're we're going to be healed.
That momentum is still there. Yeah.
But I think this is a step in the right direction. You know, at least if we can get some of the crazy people out of our body politic, or have the people remain, but like even do one better, which is accept the results of like stuff.
Mm-hmm. Got it.
That's not bad. I mean, this was a very positive thing.
Yeah, who can actually like show up to the good game handshake at the end of the game, like that.
Right.
It's so funny. Growing up, I always took that stuff for granted. Like the concession speeches and whatever. Just didn't. You're just like, what does that really mean? I didn't realize it meant so much.
Right. Yeah.
It like seeing it now, it does. It's like, oh my God, they're conceding. How beautiful.
I know. I'm giving this guy props for losing by 14 and accepting that he lost.
Right. We're acting like we're seeing the fall colors in Vermont. That's the feeling it is, where we're just like, oh God, oh tears, oh God, I can't stop.
And maybe I'll just say this as the last thing because it does make me really hopeful. I mean, the one thing that we didn't really talk about being on the ballot, we talked about abortion, we talked about some of these other issues. President Biden did this whole democracies on the ballot, like focused on democracy. Got a lot of criticism for it too.
Mm-hmm.
When he did this speech 10 days ago, or maybe 2 weeks ago now, because people said, look, the most important thing is inflation, the economy, and crime, and you're not talking about any of that. You're talking about this democracy stuff. Nobody cares. But maybe people care, when you actually have a crazy person on the ballot and you got to like vote that person who like won't accept like reality.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, it may well be that it was a bigger, more important part of this election than I thought it would be. And God bless that somebody was paying attention to it, and knows the stuff. I mean, obviously they're much better at this than the three of us are. And I'm glad that they were, for the sake of the nation. Anyway, great day, great week, feel awesome. And let's see. I mean, it's going to suck as soon as Trump announces on Tuesday, because it's going to be like, we're going to get back down in the gutter for however long we're there. But, I think we can look
for
back.
Right now, for these next 2 days, I think the sentiment of maybe people care. Maybe people care about our democracy is a good way to close out with
Mush.
And I'll tell you what I care about. I care about you, my friend, and thank you so much for coming on the show. And as always, giving us some awesome insight and context for I guess we should always call our segments "What the fuck just happened" with Mushtaq. So, dude, thank you so much for coming on. It was awesome.
No, thank you guys. I enjoyed it. And let's talk in a year. Let's see, like, sort of where we are, like, right before, like, Iowa votes. I'd love to sort of, do a little bit of a gut check on what we are.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I love it.
All right, friends.
All right, man. Catch you later.
Fantastic. Have a good one. Take care of yourself.
All right, chat and folks listening on the pod. That was Mushtaq Gunja. He's amazing, and I probably should have asked him where he should be followed. I just realized that. I don't think he's really on the he might have a Twitter, I think.
Is he laying low?
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, he's like a person with like a real job, and he's like a professor, and isn't sort of constantly thirsting for going viral. So I'm not sure if he really cares about that stuff as much as he cares about maybe you going out to vote. He probably care more about that. Maybe you stepping in and going, dropping some bucks over at the Warnock campaign, or inspiring folks to get involved. I think that's more where
spreading some verified information, maybe.
Yeah.
Focusing on some good sources.
Yeah, all that yummy stuff. How'd you feel about that convo?
That was so great because it's been a lot to absorb, and I think that coming, from the angle that we are, which is like I'm just looking up from my ballot and just being like, what's going on around me? It was. I read a lot of impressions, shortly after the ballots were counted in many places. And so much of it was like, wow, so this thing that was predicted didn't happen. And I was just so behind. I was like, yeah, so wait, what was that prediction? And like, where did that come from? And what did that mean? And what does this mean now? It's very, I don't know. I can explain to someone everything that led up to Thanos getting the gauntlet without breaking a sweat. This real life stuff is where I start to like falter, and it is variables where it's something so serious that I don't want to parrot something that I just heard from somebody. It's really nice to talk to someone who really knows this and has an intellectual reputation behind it.
I used to call this when I chatted with Mush and prior sort of iterations of live streams and stuff. I used to call it my dumb questions for my smart friends, and it's just it is helpful. It's helpful. I think. I mean, hopefully it's helpful for it to filter through our very pedestrian brains as it comes to this stuff for people listening. I hope it has. I hope it has like an accessibility effect. I guess we'll see. People in chat seem to like it. I'm checking out chat right now. By the way, if you're listening on the podcast version of this, you can join us live at 7:30 p.m. on Sundays, Pacific Standard Time. We are taking a couple weeks off after this because holidays, and then we're back in first week of December. I think it's the 6th, I want to say. Is that right? Is that a number? No, 3rd? 4th. It's the
4th. I'll be here the 4th,
December.
so...
Okay, good. Oh, Delvin will be the 4th, so at the very least, you'll just see a blank screen with a technical director in the background. No, we'll be here. We're going to be here the 4th. I'm just like scrubbing through chat to get some reactions. Trump always said he could shoot someone in the middle of Fifth Avenue and no one would do anything. I guess if it's himself, that might actually be true. Oh, that's interesting.
That's dark.
When we were talking about sort of the if Trump hits an early demise, I think is where that comment came from. Ron DeSantis is a competent version of Trump. He knows how to pull off authoritarianism. He really knows how to pull. You know that guy? He really can pull off authoritarianism. That's what I was. You know what I say about you, Omar?
Yeah.
You'd be a great dictator.
Oh,
I mean, I would.
You don't have to say that.
Really?
Thank you.
You kind of got like the glasses, like there was always like. Well, Gaddafi had those cool glasses. Now you have these like hipster dictator glasses.
Yeah, that's really it. Yeah, going to the east side is very scary for me because that's what I judge authoritarian regimes off of. Everyone's frames.
It's just your frames, man.
Yeah.
That was from Seabiscuit U. Let's see. Oh, follow Mushtaq Gunja on the internet. Yeah, good point. I should have probably figured that out ahead of time.
That'd be good merch. Yeah.
Yeah. You can also watch us on YouTube and podcasts. Okay. Yep. I'm just reading through here. Yes. Okay. I think we're ready to move on to our next section, which we were calling. What would we call it? Something fun?
Well, it's completely unrelated. Weird news topics.
All right. Take us in.
All right. Well, kicking us off, Twitter's been all abuzz about one thing in particular, and that's Twitter. The site itself is really kind of having a moment. There's a lot happening. I don't know if you know, but a purchase happened recently. And
tell me more.
Yeah. There's been a certain purchase that's happened, and in doing so, a lot of the rules in terms of verification have changed. And I hesitate to tell you what the changes have been because they'll be different 7 minutes from now. There'll be a new announcement as to what everything means. But in doing so, there was an opportunity for folks to just make an account and then pay $8 and get verified. And so someone made an account for Eli Lilly and then just tweeted about insulin being free, and that tanked the stock.
That's so crazy. It's just because look, I've been fighting to get verified for so long. And was still like, for some reason, half of the guild, the show that I acted in for a while, was verified, and the other half of us haven't. And so I was like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, and we're the funnier half, Like, no, I'm just kidding. So, and one part of me is like, I want that check mark. I'll pay $8. I don't give a shit. And the other half is like, wait, fuck this guy. Like, it's just it's amazing to me the even if the model that he's proposing is the right, like, if it ends up being the right move,
right.
I still think that, like, the way, what am I trying to say? Twitter is a public square where those verifications really mattered. I mean, it just really had an effect on how news was reported, like it or not. People
Yep.
use Twitter as a legitimate news source, and they take those verification check marks really seriously, and to sort of just overnight upend the system and not think about these kinds of consequences is so petulant, foolhardy. Because and that's the other thing, is like, I feel like the whole thing is just because he was, Mr. Musk was just like, I don't like how I'm being trolled, and
Right.
I want to be in charge of trolling.
Yeah.
It's like in one breath he'll be like, this is all about free speech. We love free speech, blah blah blah. And then the next breath he's like, well, if you are making fun of anybody, you have to put parody in your account name and in everywhere, and change your real name to a parody, and name your dog Parody. It's like, like, which is it, man? And it's so clear that he's flying by the seat of his pants, and it's so irresponsible. It bums me out.
It is so bonkers for someone to be like, hey, I'm the guys from Animal House. Like, I'm the Animal House guys, and you got to make me live free. And then in order to do that, opted to become the dean. Do you know what I mean? It was like, like what a move in that way.
Right. We don't want these guys in charge of anything.
Yeah.
We just, want them to be able to party. Yeah.
And this is clearly, I know a lot of folks have talked about, like, well, it's just Twitter. And here, this news story is interesting, right? Because it's like, yeah, but this entity, however we feel about it emotionally, has an actual effect on the market, considering that a company had a fake Twitter account that tweeted out our insulin's free, and it affected their stock by a lot.
Yeah, it's crazy. Did it affect, like, I guess what's the fallout, I'm wondering now, in terms of, like, people actually getting dialysis? like does it actually affect people that aren't well, that need insulin? Right. That's the piece that I'm not smart enough to immediately know. But if it does, that's gross.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh man, but that's nuts. Someone did tweet, like, it costs some hero $8 to evaporate billions in Eli Lilly stock value. Elon accidentally created one of the most cost-effective anti-capitalist tools in history. And that's from Robert Evans at I Write Okay. That's bonkers.
Yeah.
That's bonkers. I wish I had something smarter to say than that's bonkers.
So there it
That's what I
is.
have right now.
For $8, you can kind of do a Banksy in a way now, which is a real interesting advancement in technology.
On and saying, I guess I'm in the morning, but I wouldn't bet against Musk. Yeah, it's like, my brother says this too. He's a Musk fan. If not, he's not a fan of his politics per se, but he's a fan. He's a Silicon Valley dude, and so he's a fan of his, like, ability to pull rabbits out of his hats, as he says, and make it work for his companies. I mean, it's certainly true. I mean, I'm the owner. Before I knew Musk was what he is today, I own a Tesla, and I'm the owner of Tesla stock. Like, Tesla stock saved me during the pandemic, honestly, straight up. And it's like, and now I'm sitting here going, well, look, maybe I want to sell my Tesla. Like, and
right.
Even though I actually do like the car, and so even if he's a brilliant businessman, there's something about his, like, consumer-facing personality that's such a turnoff at this point that it's hurting his brands. I mean, like,
quite literally. Yeah.
It's I just feel like you can be a brilliant businessman, but if you can't also like I think he was always good in the B2B world. When he's interfacing with investors and business people, but now he's, like, very much in the public. He is owning, the public square, the digital version of a public square, and now he's interfacing with everybody. And I think that seems to be an area where he's not so great, and where I think he's out of his element. So I'm not so sure. Yes, would I bet against him? Maybe not, but I'm not so sure that this is his area of expertise. And public relations actually matter. It matters how you engage with the public, especially when you're the head of the public square, of the digital public square.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah. I can't say too much necessarily, I suppose, about business, but I can talk on comedy. And if the SNL appearance was really any evidence, you know.
Was he on SNL recently?
I mean, the fact that, not recently, but when he hosted, and the fact that you're even
right,
asking, I think, is kind of a hallmark of.
I forgot. Oh, that's right. And he did like his stand-up monologue thing, and it was super awkward. Yeah. Look, it's weird because I actually like Twitter. Like,
right.
I don't want it to blow up in flames.
Mm-hmm.
It's done well for me. I mean, if it wasn't for Twitter, Desi Quest, our Kickstarter, wouldn't have been funded. I don't think. I mean, 75% of our Kickstarter for Desi Quest, like maybe that's a little high. Maybe 65% came from Twitter.
Yeah.
You know, and people sharing it there. So it has a ton of value, and it's just, if it's like, even if these are the right business moves, and even if this helps with bots and all this other stuff, it's like there's a way to do it where you can bring people along with you. And I feel like he's taking the opposite approach, where he's like, I'm just going to be completely adversarial and a dick.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if that's going to win out, you know, even if the moves strategically are right moves. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. 100%. And I think we can hop to our next news story in a really interesting way, from like an adversarial personality type crafting that brand to someone who seems to have a real soft brand. Mr. Jason Momoa himself, who at a premiere recently for Slumberland brought a plushy pig. Now, Sandy, would you like to take a guess as to why he brought with him a plush animal pig? Keep in mind, I don't think a pig is a part of that movie.
Okay, so there goes that guess. I don't know, because he's let's see, is it like an anti bacon crusade? Is he like a PETA, you know, stop eating pigs, look at how cute they are, especially when Aquaman holds them kind of guy?
Yeah, a little like the a pro sea pig don't eat bacon campaign.
I don't know what. I don't know why.
It's because he actually has a pet pig that he wanted to bring to the premiere.
So much sense to me.
Yes.
I met Jason Momoa. I'm going to go ahead and humble brag about that.
Okay. Okay. And
now that you say that, it makes so much. It tracks. It tracks.
You buried the lead here. Wait, how did you meet Jason Momoa? Can you talk about this, or is it NDA?
You know, no, not at all. It was at a convention.
Mm-hmm.
There was a time when the guild was like really super popular, that we were invited to all these conventions around the world, and like we'd be able to hang out in green rooms with like, you know, Mr. Jean-Luc Picard and like Leonard Nimoy and just like cool people. Stan Lee acted in our show, and it was cool. So like I went to the bar that I think it was Dragon Con.
Okay.
And Jason Momoa was there, and we were just hanging out, and he had been in the same. Like he was like, oh, okay, you're a guest too, so you must be someone famous too, and was talking to me, and he was very tall. My neck was literally, I'm very short, so I'm 5'6".
Did you strain
and I think
yourself?
He must be 8'6".
Yeah.
And like the entire conversation, my neck was completely like this, and it was a great conversation. And he just talked about how he doesn't own any screens, like his kids don't, like he and his family don't watch TV. They like at night for fun, they like sit around a campfire and like just tell oral stories to each other.
Wow.
Yeah. And so it makes so much sense to me that he owns a real life pig, a wild boar.
A wild boar that he could not bring from Hawaii, and so in that stead, he has a stuffed animal pig to represent.
Nice. That's beautiful. So he brought a representation of his best buddy.
Yep.
Very cute. Very cute. All right, what else we got?
And let's round it out with a nice, heartwarming story. This one's brought to us by the real Brandon Pace. Thank you so much for sharing this. Just looking at the image on screen right now, nice, cozy image. This one's really going to round us off in the nice holiday spirit. The Oculus founder claims to have made a VR headset that will actually kill you if you die in a game. So, me, someone who plays a lot of like farming sim games and stuff like that, like, you know, you're helping a village of like bears settle in. I might not necessarily be the target audience for this.
So the 3 penises on the top of that thing.
Yes, right there at the top.
That. Wait, what does it do? Just confused by why they're supposed to.
It will.
Wait,
it will
what?
It will literally kill you if you die in the game. So you know, like the
Okay.
Matrix rules are, like, hey, by the way, like in the simulation that is the Matrix, if you die in there, so there's like stakes.
Yeah.
You
So
know,
we're
to the
building
plot.
an actual Matrix here.
Yeah, that's kind of the situation. Yeah.
Cool.
So what do you think?
So that's
You want to take it for a test run?
Get me, yeah. I mean, the stakes are high. Let's go, baby. If I listen, I'll do anything for free stuff.
You want to get on the early, and ironically enough, late influencer program for this this headset over here?
Yeah. Like I'll do anything for a follow. So if this is what it takes for me to get finally verified on Twitter without paying $8, then yeah, go ahead, send that fucker over to me, and I'll stick that 3 penis thing on my head for you. I'll do anything. I'll do anything for a like and a Instagram and wow, this is this is insane. Like, is this gonna be? This is starting to feel a little Black Mirror-ish. I think
Sure.
is what's happening here.
Yeah.
Like, is he? How does it kill you? Did you say that?
We haven't really covered that yet.
Okay, we haven't covered it. Okay, what does it say about how does it actually quote unquote destroy the brain of a user?
It will, I mean, in terms of the damage that's caused, you know, that I believe will be kind of the leading situation here. But let's see here. The description that was made in Sword Art Online, it's a Sword Art Online style. You die in the game, you die in real life headset. Where... Let's see. Let me get the exact wording here. It is laced with charges that will explode, destroying the brain of the user if they trigger an appropriate game over screen. So that's going to shock right here.
So we are heading into real life Squid Games, basically, is what's happening.
That's kind of where we are, yeah.
And I mean, right? Like, who's going to, you know, as it says at the end of this article, I look forward to him hosting the first blood sport tournament on a private island. And I feel like this is so fucked up, but I feel like this is going to actually be a thing. I feel like it's going to... I don't know. I'm afraid to say it out loud.
Because you'll bring it to life, and it'll be your...
bring it to life, and it's so horrifying. But yeah, I could totally see, you know, 10 people in serious debt being like, okay, and the prize is what? I mean, it's just basically the prize is, you know, paying off all my debts. And then they'll just do and then they'll film that as a reality TV show, and then we'll have actual real life Squid Games. Like, that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So I just manifested that, I think.
Thank you very much for that. I mean, they built the headset. They didn't really have any particular plans. You really put it in motion, and so they're gonna hit this VOD, and we're gonna kind of just roll into the darkest timeline.
So wait, I'm reading this now. Murderous video games are a long-time pursuit for Lucky. That's the guy, Palmer Lucky, who talked about this over a year ago. So the concept, and this is his tweet, the concept of video games with physical consequences as severe as death are a sci-fi staple, but seen as beyond the pale in real life. Given the popularity of motorsports, extreme athletics, etc., why?
Yeah, that's when you ask a question that can easily be answered. It's a hell of a thing, isn't it?
It sure is. It's like they don't put detonators on the motorbikes. They're not like, you know, and 1 out of 10 of these are going to explode.
Maybe they should.
They could, but they don't.
It is a thing where, like, also, like, lots of times when like people get hurt in sports, they're just like, hey, maybe we shouldn't do that. Like, maybe this is an element of the sport that we should look to and see what we can do about it. Instead of just, like, you know, a coach, like, hearing about an injury and be like, let's ratchet it up. We can do better.
Yeah, exactly.
We can do better.
That's crazy. What are people in chat saying about it? Oh, my gosh. I guess. Oh, we had a raid. First of all, thank you so much, Technicolor Pixie, for raiding in. Appreciate
Thank you. Welcome, everybody.
I mean, isn't Mr. Beast doing a more positive version of the Squid Game? Yeah, a more. I think that's the key. Those are the key words. A more positive version of Squid Game. It's like funny. Nobody's actually dying. Dal 437. Imagine hearing all your friends in middle school bragging about having the VR game, and for the first time in your life, and you're not jealous of it.
Yeah, because it could put you in danger.
Yeah, I mean, my FOMO was pretty real in middle school. For sure. Like, people were able to play the Mortal Kombat version that had the actual blood, and I felt like, oh, my parents would never let me do that. Though I don't think I'd be wishing for the, the controller that literally
a real life fatality.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, you want to play an Empire Strikes game where the controller actually blows your hand off if you lose? No, I don't. All right. Well, hey, those were our completely weird, unrelated topics. Yay!
Yay!
Shall we get into our final section where we play a game and we battle for the post of co-host or host?
I'll tell you what. As long as we don't use that headset, I would love to.
Good call. Deal. Not until next week. Not until they become our sponsor.
Yeah, let's do this.
All right,
Take us
so
into our own Squid Game.
Today's top 10 that you're going to be trying to guess is the top 10 grossing movies of 2022 in the U.S.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is just 2022,
Shit.
not all time. Titanic, not on the list. We're just talking this year.
Okay, 2022 is this year. All right.
This current year, yes.
I have no sense of time. I'm going to get destroyed. I don't even know what movies came out, but okay,
Please say
fine, let's do it.
Titanic. Please say Titanic.
Oh
All
my
right.
God. Okay, so and then talk to us about these timers real quick.
Yeah, so we're making a little bit of change up from the last week we did this. So
Okay.
each of you is going to get 5 minutes when it's your turn to be answering questions. It's sort of like a speed chess kind of situation. So as soon as you give your answer, your timer stops. You score your points if you get it right. The other person's timer starts. If you run out of time, you're out of time. The other person just gets to use the remaining time to try to get guesses in until they're out of time. And so similar to last week, you're scored based on the number on the list. So if you guess the number 1 grossing movie, that's worth 1 point. If you guess the number 10, that's 10 points. Like, the more obscure entry on the list is the high value ones to sort of aim for here.
Now, does this so this is theatrical releases, right? Like, this is in like box office, meaning not including whatever Netflix
Right,
numbers.
but just box office movie.
Okay.
Oh, fuck me. Okay. I'm gonna do terribly. Okay.
So last week,
All right.
Sandeep, you won. So
Yeah.
Omar, it's your choice if you're going first or second.
I'll go first.
All right, your time starts now.
Okay, RRR.
Ooh, triple R, dropping triple.
R.
Wow.
Feel like it should be.
Sandeep, you're on the clock.
Good guess. Oh, okay. I'm just gonna take points because Top Gun Maverick.
That's true. That's number 1 on the list. Omar, you're on the
I'll
clock.
take. And by
Ooh,
points, I mean
let's
points.
go Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness.
Oh, fuck. Good one.
That's number
Shit.
2 on the list.
Fuck. I'll go with Nope.
Oh.
Whoa. Okay. All right.
Right now, Omar.
Black Adam. Oh, really?
Oh, wow. Okay. Wow. I'm like, oh fuck, you're gonna get all because I don't even remember. I don't remember when superhero movies came out. Like, they all blow together. Wait, was okay. What was that? Fuck.
Chat's
Sandra
all
Bullock,
over this already.
Sandra Bullock movie.
Speed.
Not the net.
Time's ticking down. You're burning time, man.
The Lost City. The Lost City. The Lost City. The Lost City of. Was that the right?
There's no Lost City of anything.
Shit. Okay.
Let me toss this one out. Let's see. Don't worry, darling. Oh.
Wow. Okay.
Your taste may be too refined, guys.
Chat's killing it.
Yeah, it is.
Is
Killing
Chat killing it?
Chat's gone through a good chunk of the list already.
Oh.
What do you got?
Lightyear. Lightyear came out this year. Fuck. What?
What else came out? If this list is fresh, I'm definitely going to throw Wakanda Forever on there.
So I'm going to give you a pass on that. Wakanda Forever is the reason for this list coming out, but it's not in the top grossing list. It's not part of this list.
Got it. Here we go. I'll just guess anything then. Oh no, it has to be a movie from this year.
You can guess a movie from another year, but it'll just be wrong.
Okay, great. Alien Covenant.
That's the strategy.
Okay, I got one. Thor: Love and Thunder.
No.
Yes. That is correct. Thor: Love and Thunder is number 6 on the list.
Oh my God.
Omar, it's back to you.
I have another idea.
Oh.
Think
What
remakes, or not remakes. Think sequels and.
Yeah. Did a Fast and the Furious come out this summer? What happened this summer? I'm gonna go Fast and the Furious 10, Part 1. Fasten your seatbelts.
Part 10, Part 1. Is that a thing? How did you make that up? All right. The one movie that I went to see, Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. No?
I'm very sad it's not on the list, but yeah, no, I'm afraid not. But that's a great
That
movie.
movie
Everybody
fucking
should see
ruled. Oh, that movie was so good.
it. Omar, you're on the clock.
Was Hobbs and Shaw this year?
I think so.
Is that a question
I'm
or your
guessing-
guess?
I'm guessing Hobbs
Say
and Shaw.
guess.
I'm guessing Hobbs and Shaw. It wasn't this year.
Okay, so this is the one I was a little bit saving. The Jurassic World movie.
Dominion.
That is correct. Jurassic World Dominion was number 3 on the list.
Oh,
Number
wow.
3.
It did
Wow.
that well. Gross.
Omar.
Okay. This summer, what came out? What was the movie?
That's the thing. Is like there kind of wasn't the movie, right? Like I mean, except for Top Gun, I can't think of what was the movie of this year.
Well, there's
What
10 of them,
was-
so there's not just one.
Oh, The
Well,
Batman.
yeah. Good
That is
one,
correct.
dude.
The Batman, number 4 on the list.
Wow, good one. I didn't see it. Good. Worth it.
If you like a Batman movie, he's definitely a Batman in it.
All right. Wasn't there a Minions movie? Minions something. I have to know what. Oh, it was The Rise of Gru.
That is correct. Minions Rise of Gru, number 5 on the list.
Unbelievable. There had to have been a Disney film that came out this year. There had to have been a Disney
Well,
animated film.
I did the I mean,
The summer Disney film.
I said Lightyear already.
Uh,
But maybe there was another one. I don't know. It's the problem. My son's not going to movies yet, so. I don't know
Oh
the
my
hit kids
gosh.
movies.
What a year. Okay, I'm going to toss it over. You just put some pressure. Goosebumps 2.
I don't think this is right, but Bros. I mean, I don't think it. Just a movie that I know that came out this year.
But you're
at this
keeping the
point.
clock pressure on. It's a smart strategy.
Yeah, that's not bad. All right, Encanto was definitely last year. Encanto was.
Oh, I don't hate that guess. I actually don't remember, so I'm not.
I think it was December of last year. I think it was the late November release, but I'm gonna guess
yeah, 'cause
Encanto.
Didn't it win?
Yeah.
Oh, you're saying Encanto? You said Encanto?
Yeah.
Said
I
Encanto,
guessed
and
it.
it's not it.
I don't know, man. What came out early this year? Wasn't there? Okay, wasn't there? I don't know, dude.
There probably
Shit.
was.
I'm trying to think. I'm just trying to think of like other
Franchises.
franchises. Yeah.
Yeah.
Burning a lot of time.
What am I down to?
You're at 220 and ticking away
You can keep going. You still got more time than me.
for about 3 seconds. Omar is now in the lead on time.
I don't know. I don't know any other movies that came out this year. Does this include Bollywood films?
In the U.S. So if
And
they
they-
happen to gross that in the U.S.,
Alright.
sure.
I doubt this on here, but I went to see this with Hannah. Bullet Train.
No, I'm afraid not. I'm going to pause the timer for a second, give you guys some hints. You're all getting kind of slow here. So the remaining ones on the list, we have 2 that are based off a video game franchise, 1 that's a superhero franchise, and 1 that is about a real-life person. Omar, you're on the clock.
A video game franchise.
Yeah, we should know that, right?
2 that are from a video game franchise.
Shit.
2 from the video game franchise.
Oh my god, I'm showing my true colors here, my true non-nerd colors.
Okay, I'm gonna play the time strategy. So I'm gonna say Tomb Raider. I'm gonna burn it, throw it over to you. Well, I think.
Was there a Resident Evil film?
Is that your guess or a question?
Yeah, Resident Evil something something something.
Omar, back to you.
Another
What was a fucking video
superhero
game this
film. Because we already got Doctor Strange. We got Thor: Love and Thunder. Shazam 2 doesn't come out for a hot sec. I said Black Adam already,
You said
correct?
Black Adam. You said Black Adam. Yep.
Well, I'm still thinking about this. I'm gonna say Fast 9 just to cover my bases.
I can see why you might be missing the one that's on here, because you're thinking when it came out, not when it grossed in 2022.
Okay.
Remember, like before you guessed a December movie from 2021, because it's grossing in 2022.
I'm gonna have an idea on that. I'm gonna
Right.
say The Joker or whatever the one with Joaquin Phoenix was. No? Oh fuck! Because didn't that? Okay.
Oh,
That-
okay.
that holds-
In that case, interesting. I'm gonna say Spider-Man: No Way Home.
That is correct. Spider-Man No Way Home is number 7 on the list. Came out December 17th, 2021. So it came out in
Dude,
2021,
good one.
but just in 2022 alone already puts it in top 10 for its gross.
Dang.
Well,
Good.
that's 7 on the board
fuck.
from you, making up a lot of ground. Sandeep, you're back on the clock. You're about even on time. You're ahead by 2 points.
Sonic. I know it's wrong.
Sonic the Hedgehog
no.
2 is number 8 on the list. That was one of the video game ones I was talking about.
Yes. I thought that came out last year. Oh god, I can't. I don't know time.
All right,
Oh
Omar,
my
back to you. There's 2 left on the list. Number 9 and number 10. You're both still in it.
Okay. It's a video game one. I'm gonna try to buy myself some time. Pikmin.
That'd be a great movie.
How much time do I
though.
have left? What, I can't. Fuck. I don't know any. I don't know anything.
One about a real person, one about a video game franchise.
The Legend of Neil. I did release a feature cut, so I thought maybe that
Didn't quite gross top 10.
The pre-sales for Mario.
That's actually kind of an awesome guess. Oh, what about Morbius? Wasn't that a movie that came out this year?
Is that your guess?
Yeah, it's my guess. Fuck it.
You have a real good
That was
at
a-
like asking a question about your guess, so I'm trying to
I
make
know,
clear if you're.
sorry.
That was about that was about the real person, Dr. Michael Morbius. About a real person, a biopic. What was the biopic? Oh gosh. Oh no. It stars Will Smith.
Oh, The Slap.
It's not our adaptation of the Australian show, The Slap.
No, pre-sales about the movie about Chris Rock being slapped by him.
I'm gonna pass it just to buy myself some time. So I'm gonna say the game Snake.
All right, to be
The
clear,
Game Snake?
Sandeep
Is that
has a
even a
minute left.
thing?
Omar, you got 15, so you got to be lightning fast on your answers here. Sandeep, you're on the clock.
I don't know. Can I just pass to burn his clock?
If you can come up with a guess.
Selma.
All right, Omar.
The Jonas Brothers movie. Throw it back.
Sandeep.
Oh God. Everything, everywhere, all at once too.
Omar.
Black Beauty.
Yeah.
Sandeep.
Okay, wait. What were the hints that I left? One video game movie and one about somebody?
Yeah, one around a real person, one's a video game franchise.
About a real person. Fuck, come on. I don't know.
15 seconds.
Braveheart.
Omar, back to you.
The Matrix Resurrections.
Sandeep.
Just The Matrix. It doesn't matter. I still can't
Omar?
guess even if I give him
Real
the
person.
time.
Legend.
Sandeep.
The Helen Keller story. I don't know.
Omar.
What is it? Coach, father. What was the title of that movie?
Sorry, Omar, you were out of time. Sandeep, you have 3 seconds. Go.
iRobot. I don't know.
All right, you're also out of time, so that's going to wrap up all your guesses. Sandeep is in the lead, 23-13. The remaining 2 you didn't get. Wow. Number 9, Elvis, who I believe was a real person. That wasn't just a stage name. His name actually was
movie.
Elvis. Yeah.
Elvis was number
Chad
9?
Elvis number 9 with 151 million for his 2022
Man,
gross.
Baz Luhrmann does not give up.
And number 10 from Sony Pictures, Uncharted, based on the Uncharted franchise.
Fuck.
Uncharted got 10?
Uncharted number 10 with 148 million.
Wow. And I'm just looking at chat now. Sleazy Meyer.
Lizzie
Uncharted.
Meyer had that number
Damn.
10 difference. If you were Omar, you could have made up that point difference with just that one guess.
I
Yeah.
totally forgot about. I forgot Uncharted even existed. As a movie, I mean, I can't believe, like, as much as I love that game, I can't believe I have not seen that movie. This is like how fucked up the pandemic is. There's no world in which I would, you know what I mean? I would have gone to see that movie no matter how bad it was, or how bad its reviews were, if going to movies was a thing. Like
You were busy canvassing, though.
I was busy canvassing and retweeting your very impactful tweets, Omar.
All right, so Sandeep wins it. He is going to be the defending host going into next week.
Wow.
Omar retains co-host status, but it'll be up for grabs next week.
The shinier the crown, the tougher it's going to be when it falls, just so you know.
Yeah, no, I know, it's true. It's gonna hurt harder when you finally take this from me, because I'm gonna be so used to the trappings of being called host. Omar, this is an excellent show. As always, we compliment each other to end the show here. I just want to say, you're a goddamn delight. I really thought, I know, talking election is, as you mentioned, not in your wheelhouse. In terms of your comparison to, your deep knowledge of all the Doctor Strange movies. But I thought you had some really insightful questions. And, great banter as always. You made me giggle. And I love doing this show with you, dude.
I love doing this show with you. There is a balance that I rarely see in the world of folks who are informed, but also are not just curious, but want to have a sense of humility to get information and refine it. And I think that the energy you brought to this episode, and in general, it's always that, where it's I did some research, but also let's pad that. Let's enforce this. Let's make sure it's good. And I think that there is a confidence in that a lot of people with their insecurities oftentimes will just inflate that a little bit or try to show up. You come with an honesty. This was the first guest we've had on the show, and I just feel like it was such a good discussion because you're so warm and welcoming, and sharing that spotlight. But it is that honesty that you have of let's actually ask this question. I'm not here to look a certain way. And I think that's especially with what we're talking about tonight, that's crucial. It's very important. So I thank you for that.
I'm going to compliment your compliment. That was such a heartwarming. I'm gonna sleep better at night now. I did just recently talk to my therapist about my narcissism problems, and I feel like I found the cure, and that's Omar Najam. To just deliver compliments. That was so kind. Thank you, and so insightful. Oh my God, Jesus!
I will say for $8 a month, I can diagnose you as whatever you want.
I'm gonna tell people right now that I'm not kidding. Actually, when I say this, Omar, your fucking tweets are so funny, so funny and good, and your brain is so on display there. So do follow my friend Omar Najam at Nomar Najam while Twitter still exists. It's the only real verified Omar Najam. Don't fall for the real Omar Najam.
Yeah,
that guy's up to no good.
Yeah, look for the one with verification. That's not me.
And thank you to everybody who jumped into chat today and hung out. Thanks to everybody that was rated in, from our friend Jasmine. And we had another raid that I'm blanking on at this moment.
Pixie, thank you for the raid as well.
Pixie,
Yes.
thank you so much for jumping in on this. I hope this discussion was interesting and fun, and I know not your usual thing that you find on the Twitches. So thanks for hanging out. And this will be a podcast, and so if you're listening on the podcast world, please join us live on Sundays at 7:30 here at the EffinFunny Twitch. That's EFFIN Funny Twitch. And signing off for my co-host Omar Najam, I'm Sandeep Parikh. Thanks for listening.